Top 5. I'm not even joking. It is literally at number 5 of my favorite series of all time. I think so. Maybe when we actually look through a whole actual top 10 anime list, I'll talk about maybe in the future. You know, maybe I'll really decide on the ranking. But right now, it's at number 5 for me. This, by far, was one of the more fun, best, and honestly inspiring ecchi shows I've seen in a long ass time. Not just for the loot moments, but also for the fact that the story was consistent and it actually, you know, felt like a genuinely good story. So yeah, Nukitashi, episode 11. The whole series has basically just ended, and when it comes down to it, I am thoroughly pleased. I am exceedingly pleased at everything that has happened within the show itself, how the ending happened, and basically everything that really Nukitashi is. It makes me want to go ahead and jump into the visual novel. It makes me want to go ahead and read the manga and just see what other pieces of media has Nukitashi in it, because I am very much here for it. Like, this is by far one of my favorite ecchi shows of all time. I'm not even joking, right? It cleanly outbeats some of even the OG shows that I like from back in the day, and I think does a better job than even they can to certain degrees, right? So that's just how I feel. It's basically Hall of Fame status at this point, right? And this episode basically did pretty much what you think it was going to do. It basically had all its lewd jokes ready and waiting, and still had its plot still to be taken seriously as where it wants to go. It just basically shows you that yes, an ecchi show can have a serious plot when actually taken in the right context and the right way of how you want to go about it. Obviously, if you've seen the episode, I'll go ahead and briefly go through it real quick because I want to just talk about the show as a whole. Essentially, you had Jun and Toka basically fighting, and not even really just a straight up fight. It was a battle of their ideals to kind of see which one actually could stand, whether it was no love, no sex, or basically just clapping all the time because it's a crazy time, right? That's essentially the two ideals you had going there. And it's honestly a lot more bloody in this episode than I thought their battle was going to be, right? I didn't think it was going to be nearly that violent, but it was actually a little bit more violent than I was thinking. It's not like anything crazy, but it was like still a lot more blood on Jun's side than I thought it was going to be. But anyway, this girl Toka out here fighting with coins, and she shoved the coins up her whole ass vagina, and apparently that was like what she needed to use to kind of store them hoes, which I think we all saw that kind of joke coming a mile away, because the moment she said she needed to store them, I was like, alright, it's either gonna be up the ass or it's gonna be up your whole ass coo, because ain't no way gonna store them in your booba, because that's just illogical. You have to have a big ass chest, which you clearly do not have, and essentially that's just really how it is. But ultimately, yeah, she stored it in her vagina and just started shooting them hoes at Jin like it ain't effing nothing. Then had the whole ass string to tie up Jun in whatever way possible, basically acting like a fake ass Unzen Miori from a DACA box, because you know damn well dumb boys love them string balls, but that's just how it is. Really, this whole episode was just basically Jun just trying to, you know, overcome Toka in whatever way possible, and basically everybody else on the sidelines was either fighting the battle in their own way, whether it was Fumino confronting the guy that basically came over here trying to enforce the ludism law and all that, the pervert law and all that sort of stuff, you know, really hard, which ends up being her father, which, gasp, she was related. Who knew? And essentially you didn't get up and see that you had like the other people of FS basically come through and listen to Jun's whole ass speech about everything, about what he really wants, which is essentially to keep, you know, what's going on in the island for the people that want to have that, but also wants to protect people that legit wants to find love and then do sex afterward, and basically kind of have like a combining of the two, kind of like a joint power force, basically like a truce in all that sort of stuff, right? Which is good, because at least at that point the FS don't have to give up what they're doing, but also at the same time they can let some stuff be a bit more lenient, even though they're still going to be on the side of, yes, you must clap cheeks right now, that is what you must do, that is how it is, but they're not necessarily going to be hella hard to enforce it on everybody like they were before, which is actually pretty damn great, right? So obviously everybody in the FS listening to June's speech basically was ready to just piece up the regular people that was trying to be on her head top the entire time. Mainly that one damn lady that was just giving the FS nothing but shit the entire time. Basically, that's just what it was. They were shooting at her and everything. Basically, that lady was tripping because she felt that magical dick and she was ready to have the real thing, which is crazy that they were all fighting over some dick. Literally. It reminds me of the damn skit I did with, you know, Jay and Lamine and Belle, and Piper came through with her line talking about some ain't no way y'all fighting over some dick.
Ain't no way y'all two fighting over some dick. I already had a go some weeks back, and it did this old lady some good.
The insanity of this show. But yeah, essentially they beat her and beat Toka, obviously, too. You know, because ultimately Dick is magical, so he basically did the power pole move and extended that shit beyond. I thought, oh, it was just a gun at first. He just blasted, you know, the weapon with, you know, the gun and whatever. But then it ends up just straight up being, no, extendo dick. I'm like, what? Excuse me? How did you do? I know meat can get hard, right? I've seen it myself. I'm standing here right now as I'm recording this. Yes, that's pretty dang hard for me. But when it comes down to it, the hell do you mean extendo dick? And it went like 50 meters that way in the sky. That's incredible. That's insanity. And honestly, how are you alive from all that? How are you not hurt and having a floppy disk of a meat just hanging in your whole ass pants? I don't understand. I have never been so curious about dick biology before, but I need to know the science behind this shit, because this shit didn't make no type of sense, right? Basically, and the reason why the extendo dick even had to happen was because Jun took both of the other two weapons that he usually carried around, the anal weapon and the dildo, and fused them together to make them a gold anal dildo weapon. Sure, why not? And essentially, still, they end up beating Toka, but then obviously with the, you know, random ass, annoying ass FS chick that basically was just annoyed at the regular FS people, she shot Toka, or commanded her men to shoot Toka, and essentially was trying to surround them, but then obviously, of course, things would ensue to a point where the FS would obviously, like, you know, beat the shit out of the people that was trying to harm June and, you know, Nanase. But ultimately, what really was the fact was Ray coming through with the FS squad, essentially shooting bullets at that one lady, so they can basically stop this nonsense from going on any further and don't have to be controlled by anything really too damn much. So that's just kind of how it was on that sort of tangent. Which, shout out to Ray though, really shout out to her, because honestly, again, if it wasn't for the FS coming through at that last second and for her to give, you know, the chance to kind of happen to listen to what June was saying, you know, we wouldn't be in the position where them boys would got out of that, because June and Nanase would have been shot and they would have been cooked. But ultimately, at the end of the story though, of at least of the episode, we end up seeing that, you know, there is, again, this truce that has happened. There is a slacking off of what actually can happen on the island. Like, people are still gonna get clapped. You can still clap your women no matter what, but ultimately now it's a little bit more acceptable to just fall in love with somebody, do it with them then, and that's just how it is. Which honestly, I'm not gonna lie, kind of builds a really good social commentary just about how sex is perceived and how people can go about it, and just, you know, exploring sexuality in that sort of way, which I feel like we don't really do too much in reality, where, you know, we explore that sort of topic. Because usually in these sort of topics, it's usually people that are like, you know, I guess like things like sex change and stuff like that, but we never really talk about it in a normal sort of standpoint, because obviously, especially now, like, the idea of anything just going in a hole and obviously just, you know, thinking about that for 5 seconds, it's so taboo for most people. Like, most people don't even think about that, and I very much see that a lot when it comes down to the censorship stuff that we have seen. Like, honestly, again, and I'll keep mentioning this because this is how it is, I do feel like if people weren't necessarily so scared of the idea of smashing, I promise you, we wouldn't be in this position with censorship nearly as hard as it is, especially when it comes down to different people and what they like, you know, what they kind of gets them going and stuff like that. I do feel like if we had more people actually accepted to that sort of thing, we wouldn't be in a position like this really at all, right? It started off with things like lolly, and then people didn't want to protect that. Then it went to things like furry, and then people went ahead and let that go too. And then now it's hitting everything. Everything's trying to get banned. And even the most normal things are getting banned at this point. And it's like, if people weren't so afraid of, like, you know, being open about this sort of topic, which granted, it is a weird topic to kind of be open on to a point, but still, if people were more open to it, we probably wouldn't be in this position as it is, right? And then another thing we can obviously, you know, take in with this whole story, at least of this anime, is that, yeah, I guess you could also kind of view it in a way where it could change how you view sex in general, as like ethics and stuff like that, because sex used to be a sacred thing for, you know, people to kind of do, and that's just kind of how it was, more so for men and women, and that's just how it is. But ultimately, it's become so casual now within the stories that we see, within the medium of just the internet, when it comes down to just a lot of these OnlyFans things and a lot of just adult content online and everything else like that too, and, you know, kind of having like two different people of the same sex kind of come through and all that sort of stuff. It kind of loses, you know, its value of what it actually supposed to be originally, and that's just kind of a bit unfortunate in a way, right? And that's a bit unfortunate that we can't really have a value to it like we used to. The only time it could be still valuable is if somebody's a virgin and another person's a virgin and they go at it, and then, you know, giving their first times to each other, which that's kind of what it's supposed to be about in a sort of way. But ultimately, it just doesn't feel like we have that too much anymore. And I can understand June's whole point of, you know, if you're not falling in love with somebody, there's no reason to do it, which I do agree with. I'm gonna be honest with you. As much as there is fine ass women across the lands and beautifulness just everywhere, and enticing ass women with the best breasts and the best ass and the best actions that you could possibly get from anybody, of course there is. But ultimately though, I do get the standpoint of just wanting to not necessarily go at it, because you absolutely could, but do you have the willpower to just, you know, actually fall in love with somebody, go with somebody that actually cares, and not just be a piece of meat? That's something a lot of people very much, I would say, need to really kind of think about when it comes down to it. And I do like that this show actually touched upon that sort of commentary in a way, right? Even if it's roundabout and different, it still touched upon it in that sort of way. More so, I would say the show more so focuses on, you know, the fact that if you want to do one other aspect of it where just clap people, you know, around and just kind of clap cheeks, whatever, sure, you could do that, but also you can fall in love with people too. That's kind of like the commentary of what I've got for this. And the last scene of the episode that we actually really got was outside of the beach clapping and the park clapping and everybody like that, and June also kind of just wanted to keep going ahead with his plan of doing what he normally does. Essentially, it did look like we might, or at least they're teasing potentially a season 2. I really hope that that's what that is at the end, because, you know, they're like, oh yeah, we gonna have to go to a different place and start this out differently, which is the United States of Ludism. Crazy ass term. We had the United States of Smash, and I guess this really is about to be the United States of Smash, and now we have the United States of Ludism. I have never been so happy over a stupid change of phrase like this in my dang life. But it's so stupid, but it's so fun all at the same time. It genuinely is. But that was basically Nukitashi. Overall, what are my thoughts about everything? It is by far the peak of ecchi, I would say, or at least it's a high point in ecchi when it comes down to it, right? Because again, long time ago, I've been wanting to see a story where ecchi and seriousness in the story could actually be done very well. And there has been some that's been done well, but there's been a lot of them that just does not hit that place where it needs to. And the fact that this story actually took itself seriously and actually wanted to tell a story where it's ridiculous and crazy, but also show you a side of it where it's like, yeah, characters can actually take this stuff seriously, even if it's in a dumbass way. That's great. I like that a lot. That's why I'm honestly was very much hyped to watch this really every single week and being anticipating to watch it every single time. It's amazing. It is by far one of the better shows that we honestly had in a good minute of this sort of category, right? I'd argue it beats out some actual shows that people would normally watch, in my personal opinion. This show just did everything right of what I wanted to see. It made me also think too about my own story, about, you know, how much lewd things could we add into there too, but also still tell a good story as well. Because right now in that story too, it's been pretty serious, and there hasn't been time to do anything lewd and crazy, and honestly I don't want people to forget that it is an ecchi show, so there is that too. But also it just makes me inspired to kind of continue working on that show even more than I already have. So that's just how that is on that sort of note as well too. And just to really hammer this home about how much I love this show and how much I really like this cast of characters and really what this show is, honestly I think this is like the best ecchi of the decade so far, right? Or at least it's very much tied to Interspecies Reviewer. You know, it's like very much up there. One's good at comedy and, you know, mainly focusing on comedy and not anything serious, and the other one is more focused on, you know, both the comedy but also the seriousness of, you know, lewd things happening, right? I can very much see them tied up for first place in the best ecchi, like, of all time, or even of the decade when it comes down to it, right? I can very much see an argument for something like that, to keep it very much a stack, because again, there's two sides to this that you can very much like out of each show, and then they both do well, you know? So it's, I don't know, it's a very hard decision to kind of make when it comes down to it if you were to compare it that way, but that's just how good Nukitashi was, right? With everybody in general. Like, sure, yes, there was some characters that didn't really get much screen time, or we didn't get to see anything lewd of, right? And the Blu-ray will come out, and they did say there was gonna be an OVA that will happen, so hopefully we get some lewd shit that happens with a lot of the girls that's in the main cast. But when it comes down to it though, you know, there is, again, certain characters that I wish had more screen time, like Fumino. I wish we got to see Fumino naked. You know, if that's not a plot point, I kind of wish we got to see that. Or the purple hair girl, which I still don't know the name of, which is a bit of a shame because she did look mad good. She was fat, she's called herself fat, but honestly, fat women are okay. If you haven't seen the dang fan service video, I think you understand why I'm fine with it now. But when it comes down to it though, you know, we didn't get to see much of her naked as well. You know, we barely got to see any of the lolly. We got to see it, but we could have, I know, we could like saw some more. She wasn't my favorite character, but we could have saw something. Nanase, could have seen a little bit more of Nanase just out there doing stuff. She was doing a lot more than everybody else personally, if I had to put something in here, but that's just how it is. Then Asa, she could have done something else as well. Like, we didn't see anything of her as well, which is a bit of a shame. And then at the very same time, there's some FS members I would love to see more of, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we didn't see much of Ray. We've seen some, but we didn't see much. We could have seen some other FS members as well. You know, we could have seen just straight up, just a lot of other people just go at it, but we really didn't see much and had like a lot of random NPCs and random fine shits just getting their ass cheeks clapped in either the damn costume of the Hamadori or just like a lot of other things. There was just a lot of clapping going on, but not the clapping of the characters I would like to see. Best girl is easily Ikiko. I don't care. Ikiko was literally best girl. She just genuinely was. There was no discussion, no debate whatsoever, and I just thought Ikiko was like the baddest one. Can I be real? Is it that crazy for me to believe, for you to believe, because she's the crazy girl? And of course I need my crazy women. So yes, Ikiko was easily best girl. Second best girl, probably I'll get to Nanase, just because she did more for a main character than anybody did, right? You know, she may not have took the man's virginity for the first time, which Ikiko did, which was still by far the highlight of this damn show. But when it comes down to it though, you know, Nanase did suck this man off and then swallowed after. So to keep it very much a stack, Nanase was out here for this man's meat. Certainly, she definitely was, and then ends up getting clapped in the very end, you know, when she was chained up before she was going to the guillotine. So there was also very much that when it comes down to it. And then third best girl, I would probably say Ray, right? I can definitely make an argument for like the lolly, or even more so like the, the purple hair fat chick. But ultimately though, I'm not mad at these options whatsoever. Hell, anybody could easily say the student council president from the first episode, which I wouldn't blame you. That's still ingrained to my mind of how she just got clapped in front of everybody like that and just, did that. But ultimately, it just is what it is, right? There's definitely a lot of options that you can have here. And again, I have to mention this too. I didn't think a show where everybody was getting clapped in public were gonna work as a show and honestly get me going as well. But also it just did. It just worked, and I'm honestly very much here for it. But yeah, man, I hope the OVA that comes out in November actually has full actual uncensoredness. I hope they extend some of those scenes, because I would very much love to see it that they couldn't fit in the show. But yeah, I love Nukitashi. It's by far one of I think my show of the year personally, if we're gonna be real. And I'm really sad that it's pretty much over. And now it just made me think, what show could possibly top something like this? Because honestly, I can't think of anything that could, right? Do I gotta wait another 5 years for another show to come through and try to top it? Because that's what it feels like right now. I still got Yandere Dark Elves to watch, and maybe we'll get something out of that, right? But we'll ultimately see how things will just end up going. I just hope the next edgy show that's gonna be a banger isn't gonna be a long wait. It'll happen sometime soon, and genuinely just ready for the next show, because and hopefully and really hope that the show gets a season 2 as well, because again, there ain't no damn show like a Nukitashi. Like, it just is what it is. It was very much damn peak. But also, I have to mention this real quick though. There ain't no damn way I'm getting stuck with the damn buff chick. Did you not see what she was on? This woman was on timing, and I was not here for it. Hell no. But you get the dang point. But essentially, that's really all I want to say for this one. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of this show in general? Because this is by far, again, one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. And I think it absolutely deserved any season 2, any praise, and all that sort of stuff. I hope it sells very well for the Blu-ray, and I hope they really realize how much of a good gem this show actually was, and how much it pushed the boundaries of what anime can actually be. And by far, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that this pushed boundaries in different levels I didn't think was possible. Anime is literally the best damn medium. I don't care. But anyway, that's again all I gotta say for this one, so hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's been your boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.